Good day and welcome to NACTV's Council Checkup. My name's Lyle Watson and I'm sitting in for Don Walmsley today. Don wasn't able to be with us today, and I have the pleasure of talking to our guest, the Mayor, Blake McCutcheon. Blake, thank you for taking the time to join us, and a new experience for me and you to be sitting here talking like this. So we look forward to the conversation, and we were just talking about how fast time flies. And we both, our families moved to Neepawa when? That was
1976, yeah. It's hard to believe, Lyle.
And that's when we met. And,
yeah.
and time goes, and thinking of time going, where are you at in your 4-year term as mayor at this point, Blake?
Okay, well, we've just slipped into our 3rd year last October. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe. I mean, I've said that to other people. I just don't know where those first 2 years went. And it was quite a learning curve, I have to admit that. I mean, a lot of people told me it would be interesting to see how that would unfold, and they were right. I mean, it's just a lot to learn, you know. So it's been good. I feel much more comfortable now in my 3rd year. I think the council's much more comfortable in its 3rd year, and I've said it before at these council chats that I'm looking forward to the last 2 years of our council. I think now that we have an understanding of our role and what we're able to do, and of course, I mean, with the COVID, I mean, that's changed our world a little bit in what we can do and what we can't do.
How has COVID affected you as mayor, council, and town employees and everybody? It must have been challenging.
Yeah, you know what, it certainly, I mean, we all said the same thing. I mean, just think it's not even a year yet, right? I mean, it was March 13th last year that the schools were shut down and everything, so we're just coming up on the year, right? So, yeah, I think it's been very interesting. I would suggest, though, from my point of view, again, I think at the very beginning of the COVID, I think everybody was pretty stressed and pretty concerned how they were going to operate inside the COVID world. But I think as time has marched on and we've understood the social distancing, wash your hands, wear a mask, I think people are starting to feel a little bit more comfortable again about operating inside our society. And, you know, from a town point of view, we've been very fortunate to have a staff and a council that has stayed engaged. And I mean, you know, you just think from last year, I mean, we built a multi-use bike park right in the middle of COVID. You know, so I mean, that was pretty exciting. And at that time, we didn't know we were building something that was perfect for social distancing. So, you know, so it was a win-win, right? Yeah. So, and you know what? And we've moved forward with our CN lots, right? I mean, that's another thing that was a big part of our projects, right? Was to get the water and sewer out there and get that underway. And now we're getting ready to move into our last phase of our lagoon, our $12 million lagoon. And that's still chugging along. And then we got money from the government to go ahead now and build a 2.25 million liter capacity reservoir at our water treatment plant. So, you know, yeah, I'm very proud of our staff and
so
everybody.
Things haven't come to a
No.
standstill because of COVID.
No, absolutely not. No, that's exactly right. No, we've been very fortunate.
Like thinking of challenges the mayor and council face, and I'm sure there's lots of them, but preparing a budget has got to be a big one, and of course this year there's a different slant on it because of what we've been through. Number one, the disaster back at the end of June,
exactly.
plus the COVID. How is your budget delivered?
Well, you know what, it's going to be, you're right, it's very interesting. We're right in the middle of it right now, and I think we decided last night at the council table it has to be presented by the middle of May, I believe. But anyhow, you have to have your ducks in a row before that for some bylaws and stuff. But you're right. I mean, that was the COVID obviously was a big part of it, and then of course we had our July 1st celebration of the town of Neepawa that ended up being the once in a 1,000-year flood. And
don't plan that celebration this year.
No, it worked out well though because everybody was off, no one was working, so we had a ton of people that came and helped out. So yes. that was good. So you're right, and that money has, you know, the town had to put up. You know, we don't have the final numbers yet, but probably around $600,000 that we've already paid out. And we will get that back eventually from the Manitoba Disaster Fund, but we don't have it yet. And the other big part of our project was our CN property, right? Like we were thinking that we had a developer that was moving forward and he was going to purchase all the lots. And so we just chugged along, and so we have spent well over $1 million in there too, doing the water and sewer and getting ready for the roads.
But in the long run, that's going to be a good investment.
Absolutely. But again, in this budget, that money is no longer sitting in our bank account. So, you know, because it's been spent. So
And how many lots did you wind up with?
we
then?
ended up with 46 lots. We ended up with
46 residential lots?
38 residential lots and 8 that you're allowed to build a duplex on.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And one buyer has changed his mind.
Yes,
but
so,
you've got some other sales in place now that sound very encouraging, right?
Yes, no, and maybe this is a good time to talk about that right
Yeah.
now. I mean, it's exciting news. So yes, the previous owner, and you know what, there was a lot of reasons why. I mean, he said himself that he was ready to go. He had people even from the Philippines that were talking about buying a house, but then COVID hit. And I mean, it did change his financial structure, and he attempted to stay in the game, but it just didn't work out. So the town made a decision, and when he made a decision too, to step back, and we said, well, thank you for all your efforts. And so we moved forward, and as of 2 weeks, not this count, 2 weeks, so we're just a little over 2 weeks ago, the council announced that they were going to put all the lots out for sale. They were going out at $45,000 a piece, and they were going to be based on first come, first served. And so here we are, just a little over 2 weeks later, and last night at the council, we had a special meeting, and at that special meeting last night, we signed off on 4 resolutions, and in those 4 resolutions, we sold 40 of the 46 lots that are available.
I'm going to ask you to repeat that. You said 40 lots of the 48 are now sold.
Yeah, 46.
46, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
40
out of 46 are now sold.
they're gone.
Can you share with us who the buyer is?
Absolutely. I can share a certain amount of information. We had 2 lots that were just sold to private individuals. We had a big player at the table, and at the resolution last night, they call themselves the Madison Group, and they have bought 32 residential lots. And
they're local.
And they're absolutely local, and they are people that have been operating in our town for the past few years, and they've been very engaged in our real estate market. And then we sold 6 lots to Square One, which is Brad Wilson. So yeah, so there's the 32, there's the 6, and then 2 independent, so that's 40.
So it's exciting. It's exciting that the lots are sold.
Yes.
But it's exciting to see local people with the what would you call it, the faith of
Yes,
investing in our
absolutely.
community
Yes.
and building to
Yeah.
accommodate the future.
I mean, it couldn't have been a better outcome. I mean, you know what, we were, obviously a little concerned that we'd invest all that money into those lots, and the fact that the other gentleman had stepped back. I mean, I don't think we could have we couldn't have asked for a better outcome, to have people step up in our community, and anyone that has purchased the major of these lots have said they definitely want to deal with local.
Yeah.
Our local trades, our plumbers, our electricians, our carpenters, our suppliers, whether it's Home Hardware or the Co-op or.
Wow.
Yeah, no, so it's wow.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
It is
Yeah.
exciting.
So the possession dates, like the people are taking possession of those lots in the
They
near
will
future?
take possession, and it works out well, because I mean our new citizens in the town, this is a tricky thing for them, right? I mean, they really want to live in a house that they want to move forward. They want to have their own house with not quite as many people living in it. So they have come to our office and talked about these lots before they were sold, but what we learned from them, they're going to be much more comfortable having someone to deal with now. So, what, they can now go to the people that have purchased these lots, and they can say, what can you build?
Yeah.
Because the major player with 32 lots has already said that they've got 3 house designs ready to go, and they already have people in the queue that are interested in buying, and they've already established themselves with local banks. So so this is actually the perfect solution. Yeah.
So there will be a variance in price ranges of houses?
Yes,
then?
yes, absolutely. I mean, it'll be in that, I know I use the word affordable, that affordable house price range. I mean, obviously our new citizens, most of them work at High Life, and that commits them to a certain price range of house they can afford. And but that's been well established now for a few years. So I mean, I think the biggest, which is a great problem, is how many houses can we build a year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be the biggest push now, right? Because I think if you could build 30 houses, you'd have 30 sales. I honestly believe that, but I don't We don't know that.
So
right?
we will see construction starting in the spring.
We absolutely see construction starting in the spring.
I'm thinking back from the time we come in 1976,
I know.
the CN train was still running,
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely.
But there's been so much discussion and so much debate over that CN property, and to think like it's finally come to fruition.
Well, it goes back to '09. It goes back to '09. I mean, that's hard to believe. 2009 was when that first concept was created, and like here we are 12 years later, right? And it's come to fruition. I mean, yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I'm very fortunate to be part of that, right? I mean, it could have
Yeah.
been, and every council along the way has had a
Yeah.
lot to do with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Every council has been part of that,
Yes.
right? So, and we get to really reap the benefits of it, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah, no, it's very exciting.
As a citizen looking back on it and to see it actually being developed and an activity out there is just a real step forward in the terms of our progress of this community.
Yeah, and now the next step is when we go from there, right? Because I mean, those lots are basically sold except for 6. So, you know, again, at the table last night, we were talking about we still have the ability to, and I mean, the town doesn't want to be a developer. I mean, we've learned that. I mean, it's not our first choice, but I mean, right now we're committed to the CN property, and we are committed to the Eastview property.
Yes. How many lots are left out?
So there are 3 that are finished and ready for sale right now, but there is the potential to do another 11.
11.
Yeah, so that'll be the next up on our plate, and that won't occur this year. It could occur next year, but I think the more exciting thing again, Lyle, is that we actually have players in our town now that are who want to be developers. They are looking at land to purchase, and they want to bring their own. They're going to do it like all we're going to do is bring the water and sewer to their site, and they're going to be the developers after that. So, I mean, and that's really the way I would suggest any town wants to be, right? I mean, they don't want to be a developer. They want people to come in and do that. So I think over the next, I mean, nothing's written in stone yet. There's still discussions, but I would say I'm very optimistic over the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a tremendous amount of residential lots for sale.
Wow.
You know, it's exciting.
Yes, it is. You'd mentioned newcomers. We've seen quite an increase, of course, over the years with newcomers coming in and the development of High Life. In the past year, though, there has been quite a number of newcomers come to Neepawa also, has there not?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, High Life, I mean, they're a well-run organization, and you know, but we know that their future is that they want to get bigger. I mean, that's always been on their plate, and they've never disguised that. And I mean, I think COVID actually slowed that down for them, of course, obviously, like everybody else. But I mean, everything that we are being told from the statistics that we're able to see, and this is a census year, so we will have a really good idea where we're at. But there's no doubt in my mind we'll be over 6,000 people.
Over 6,000?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I might be, you know, I don't think I'm even low on that. I mean, I think, or high on that. I think it could be more. So you think about, like you said, when you and I came back in '76, we were basically 3,600 people.
So we've doubled, basically.
Basically. And that's happened since '09 too, really. If you go back to '09, the census then was right around 3,600 people. So in the last 12 years, we have accelerated by, I believe, 2,500 people. Well, when you think there's 1,500 people working at High Life.
Yeah, I know.
And I mean, so, I mean, it's shift at work, but then you think they have, you know, they have families, and they have wives or husbands, and they have children, and
Yeah.
I mean, so, yeah, it's pretty spectacular what's going on in this community, so.
Well, I think Neepawa, compared to a lot of the rural communities in the province of Manitoba, Neepawa has to stand very proud for the fact that we've had that increase in population and things are progressing and moving ahead.
Well, like I always say when I'm sitting here, I say, you know what, a lot of towns are trying to figure out how to maintain their tax base so they can afford their services, and here we're trying to figure out how to pay for all the extra services we need to do here, right? I mean, like, again, the last council was so progressive and moving up on the other lagoon, right? Because, I mean, southern Manitoba, especially Morden, is struggling right now because they had issues getting to the plate with their lagoon, and now they're at a standstill in being able to build. Yeah. So right now, our CN property would not be able to be developed unless we had started a lagoon. So, you know what, that government would have said to us, no, you can't do that. So, but now that we've said, okay, we're ready to go here, then we're allowed to do that. And again, foresight on last council, last administration, this lagoon is built on the basis that it can be added to because of the new technology. And I think right now we're good till about 7,500 people, but it could be expanded out beyond 10,000.
But the current plan for the expansion of the lagoon is now complete?
No, not complete yet.
Not
No, we're still a year away. It's
Okay.
starting. We just started to run some water into it now, but we're still a year away. But the government gives you a license saying, yes, we know you're building, we know you're good to go, so you can continue to overuse your existing lagoons. But yeah, no.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned water capacity, and there's an improvement coming to the water
Absolutely,
treatment plant.
absolutely, yeah.
And what does that entail?
Well, again, we just talked about that last night at the table. So the government came to us with a, I forget what those funds are called, but anyhow, it's funding to do with what's going on in our world right now. And we knew, like right now with our water supply, we run tight because obviously High Life's a big user of our finished water. And we've never been out, but you know, we get pretty close some days to not being able to meet demand. So in the new world now, the government has committed to $2.25 million of money.
That's federal or provincial?
That's provincial.
Provincial.
Provincial, federal. I think that's, you know, I want to say it's provincial now. And we have to match, because that's what we need. We need $5 million. And we already have that money available, so we're good to go. And the terms of that agreement is we have to be finished by March 31st, 2022. So it's quick. So Denis, our manager of operations, is getting ready to tender, and that'll be going out in the next month. And then it'll be underway. It'll go right in beside our existing water treatment plant. It'll be buried. It'll be like a 2-story bunker. It'll go right in the ground. It'll be concrete. It has the potential to do 2 million, right? It's just, you know, retaining water, it's finished water. It'll be 2 million available, and then down the road it could add another 2 million once we start to.
Wow.
I know. And High Life's already come to the table and said they are going to be coming, and they came last fall, and they said within 2 years they will be asking for more water.
Is there a water line running from Portage to High Life at this point?
No, it ends just right on Arden.
At Arden?
Yeah. They said the problem is if they were trying to bring it any farther, they would have to engage a lot more money in, say, an area like Gladstone to upgrade the facility to be able to push the water. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I don't think that's going to occur, but never say never.
Yeah.
You know.
But
yeah.
it is that close.
It is that close, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. While we're out in the lagoon and talking about water treatment, that back 40 development out there has certainly proved popular, and certainly looks like it's going to be a tourist attraction.
Absolutely. You know, that was just good timing on that, right? I mean, it just the fact that you know, and I've always said take that back to our manager of operations, Denis. I mean, we were getting ready to spend $60,000 or $70,000 to turn it back into a field, right? And Denis said, you know what, guys, I got an idea here. And we said, okay, tell us your idea. And that's really where it came from, right? And of course, it was right in the right timeline for governments too, because federal and provincial governments are very much engaged in those type of projects to give money. So at the end of the day, it's cost the town very little of its own personal tax base. I understand it's still all taxpayers' money, but it's just not coming directly from the town of Neepawa.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, you talk to anyone that is, and obviously I'm at the wrong age now, but I mean, you talk to anyone that is very knowledgeable on that, they say it probably, because it's new, and I mean, the next one will be better, but right now it's probably the best one in Western Canada.
That's something.
Yeah.
I think at our age, Blake, that slope on that bike, I think it's too much for us.
I know it's too much for me, I know. I walked it. Yeah.
Just thinking of the back 40 there, and I just want to make our viewers aware, and I think they probably are, but it's certainly worth mentioning again. And I know that you have done this publicly. Congratulated Darwin DeQuito. He's a High Life Employee of the Year for 2020. And Darwin was awarded $1,000 to donate to a charity or an organization of his choice. And Darwin chose the High Life Back 40 multi-use trail park. So Darwin's donation will purchase 800 trees and seedlings for the park, 200 white spruce, 350 poplar, and 250 Manitoba maple trees.
Yeah, I know, and you're right. We announced that at our Tuesday council meeting, and I mean, yeah, no, great, good. I mean, that's such a generous contribution.
And there again, it fits in with the green plan of more trees.
Yep.
And that whole area. Can you imagine what it's going to look like out there in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, it's going to be, yeah.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, it is going to be beautiful.
So who is responsible for the planting of the trees? Does the town?
The town will step in for that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will they all be planted in 1 year then?
Yeah, that's a good question, Lyle. I don't know that. I know that Denis is actually, because even for our cemetery, that we're getting ready to plant new trees there, and that actually has been an issue because, again, of COVID, people are much more engaged in what's going on around their yards and landscaping and stuff like that. So Denis has been very active in trying to round up as many different types of trees as he can get. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Just, well, you mentioned
Yep.
cemetery,
Yep.
just for my own information,
Yep.
and maybe some of the viewers too. It's been pretty well accepted now that the perpetual care has kind of gone by the wayside, and we
I hope so. I mean, it was a difficult decision. I mean, we didn't take that decision lightly, obviously. You know what? I'll still maintain, and I know. I mean, obviously there'll be people that disagree with me, but I think at some point they will see that what is going to be created is absolutely gorgeous too. So, you know, we're certainly getting ready to, like I said, we're taking out some of the old trees that were getting ready to fall down. We're putting in a lot more new trees. We're talking about a pergola where people could actually hold a service if they want to. You know, we're putting in way signs so that you can see, you know what, and we've created a database, and that's going to be another year away, but you will actually be able to target any person in that cemetery. You'll be able to go on the page and say, now how do I get to that
Wow.
headstone? Yeah, so
that's going to be a real help
yes,
to a lot of people.
that's a big help to a lot of people. And you know what, yeah, no, I think it's going to be fine.
And there again, a little bit of patience and give it a year or two.
Yes.
And we'll be able to drive in there, and it'll be
Absolutely.
a whole different
absolutely.
environment.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I agree. No, you're right. It was a tough call, and I mean, it was one of the first things we did out of the council gate. So.
Another question, and you've probably discussed this on this program before, but I'm going to ask it
Sure.
anyway. The change to the garbage pickup, the way it's existing now, is that working out well for the town and as a rate?
You know, I think so. Again, you know what? I think we're all kind of have a built-in DNA not to want to accept new things right off the hop sometimes. And but you know what? Once we got underway, I think we've had an extremely positive response in it. Yeah, and I think you have a piece of paper there that you can talk about it maybe a bit later, but the recycling has been, but that's got nothing to do with our garbage card system. The garbage card system itself has worked very well, but the recycling has come into play because, you know what, it's just tough. I mean, I'm at an age where, you know, I never grew up with recycling, and I mean, my grandchildren have a much better understanding of recycling than I do. I'm quite willing to admit it. And the problem we were having is when we looked over this year's records versus last year's records was contamination. So the problem we run into is when the truck picks up a whole load of recycling and then takes it out to Evergreen. So Evergreen will visually inspect it, and if they feel and I don't know how they arrive at that percentage, but if they feel that there's too much contamination in there, like say there was diapers, or say there was too many Safeway bags or Quap bags or any other items you're not allowed to put in there, they will disqualify that load. And we, as a town, we get paid by the government of Manitoba to supply recycling. So that means that not only do we lose that money, but now that we can't use it, it goes into our landfill, and we have to pay for the landfill. So it's a double whammy. So what we saw over the last year was, I think we had minimum of 12 loads disqualified. And so we were trying to get out there again now, and I mean, we're doing it in an education way. I mean, we're just telling people. We've had a couple of our employees walk around, and they're looking, and they haven't done it lately when it's 40 below. But I mean, when it was a little warmer, and you know what, we just want people to be aware of it, right? So you know, we already had a really good response because we had one of our town employees go out, and we had probably a third of the recycling that was checked was disqualified because of something in it that shouldn't have been.
Wow. I
know. And so then 2 weeks later, we sent another town employee back into exactly that same area, and we only had 7 carts that weren't acceptable. So, you know, I don't think people just aren't aware of it, right? I mean, people just don't understand it, right? So that's our education. You know, we've got it out on Facebook. We've done some advertising in the banner. And we're trying to do it here, and we will continue to send out our staff to talk. And we're thinking maybe even this coming summer we might use some university students or high school students, and maybe they will go door to door. Or we haven't kind of formulated it yet, but it's something we need to do.
Discussion.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll take a moment here and just remind our viewers of the recycling reminders that the town has put out. Like Blake has said, it's on Facebook and in the banner, and there's also, these would be available at the town office,
Absolutely.
I presume so. And just very briefly, some of the things that are accepted is aluminum food and beverage containers. They are accepted. Box boards, cardboard, glass, a separate pickup on the first Tuesday of each month, and juice boxes, and that's one I've always wondered about, and they are acceptable.
Yep.
And milk, juice, and soup cartons, so we can put them in our recyclables. We have paper, flyers, and margarine containers and magazines, sorry. Paper, flyers, magazines, and newspapers. And we also have the steel food and beverage containers are acceptable. And number 1 to 5 and 17 food and beverage containers. Is there a number on these containers?
That's a good question. I saw that too, and I'm not sure what that means, Lyle. I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah. Well, I would take from this that if you look on some of these beverage containers that there's a number on them, and some of them are accepted. Now, this is the big thing, I think, in terms of the ones that are unaccepted, and if any one or more of these gets into a container of recyclables, then it's contaminated.
Yep.
Okay? So just a few examples of the unacceptable items are aluminum foil and foil paper or foil pie plates, clothing and textiles, rice bags, disposable cups, electronics, foam packaging and styrofoam, and food waste, and paper towels and tissues and napkins. They're not accepted. See,
I know.
I think I've been guilty on a couple occasions of maybe putting those in.
Yeah, of course, because it seems like it should be recyclable, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So the advertising and the educating of the general public is a good idea. So I'm going to ask them just to remember paper towels, tissues, and napkins are not allowed in, as are plastic bags or cellophane are not acceptable. So there's a few items that are accepted and some that aren't. And if you want information, just check with the town office, and that's all available there.
Just for information purposes, Lyle, when the town staff did their checking, the majority of the contamination was occurring with plastic bags.
Plastic bag.
Like, whether it be a Safeway bag, whether it be a co-op bag, whether it be a garbage bag, that was the absolute number one that was not allowed. Number 2 was disposable cups, right? People, Tim Hortons, McDonald's. That's just you kind of think that should be disposable, right?
Yeah.
And then the third one was takeout. We live in the takeout world now, right? Well, guess what? Takeout comes in, right? So the styrofoam, right? So again, those were the 3 big items that and I think if we could eliminate those 3, we'd be well on our way to having as many issues as we've had. So.
I wonder if we'll ever get to a point where disposable cups, for example, will be made of
I hope so.
material.
You would think someone would be working on that someplace,
Yeah,
right?
I think that would be number 1 almost. Yeah,
me too. I agree 100%. And you know what? Safeway and Co-op, I'm not. Good for them. A lot of these organizations are getting ready to discontinue their bags, right? They were going to allow you to bring in your own.
Yes.
But again, of course, COVID. I know.
Yeah.
So it changed their formula too, right? So.
Yeah. So hopefully that'll get back to that situation where we can bring our own bags and do that.
Yeah.
Well, while I'm talking about educating the public and talking about the services of the town and what to do and what not, sewage system public notice, and there's certainly a lot of maintenance of the infrastructure required by you and your staff, and ongoing abuse of the system puts a financial strain on all taxpayers. So we all can prevent clogs in our drainage system if we just follow a few simple rules. So if you don't mind, Blake, I'll just take a minute and read this out. And it says, you can flush the following down. The following can be flushed down a toilet. Toilet paper. Glad we got that. Okay? And you don't have to buy a whole bunch of it because COVID's here.
No, we're good to go. Yeah, it seems to be a lot in stock again now.
It still flushes down okay. But here's the important ones, and that's a do not flush. The following cannot go in the toilet as they can clog pipes and the septic systems. Number 1, paper towels, cigarette butts, disposable diapers, wipes. Baby wipes are flushable, but other wipes aren't. Feminine hygiene products, not flushable. Plastics, medications, cotton, dental floss, and toxic substances. And a couple more items is not okay to put down the drain, and be very careful of these. Food waste, liquid food waste by disposing of any excess waste is a no-no. Chemicals is a no-no. Grease and fat, and then no-no. And garbage disposal, properly dispose of food debris and limit using a garbage disposal. So there's a few things, and a lot of these things are common sense, but there's a lot of cases where, you're in the kitchen and you got a little bit of grease.
I know.
It's pretty easy to pour it down.
It is, I agree, I know.
But hopefully by making people aware, that we will kind of be more aware of that and not do those things.
And the other thing we found, and it's interesting, and again, it's just a lack of education. And I mean, again, we have a lot of newcomers to our town. Is that what you put down a toilet is going exactly to the same place what you put down a sink, and a lot of people don't understand that. They seem to think that what you put down a sink is different from what you put down a toilet. They're somehow ending up in a different pipe, and so it's just interesting, right? That again, it's just education, right?
Yeah,
it's just education,
Well,
and it's definitely got better. I mean, we're definitely on the right. Grease was a big issue, and I mean, Denise been working hard. Our operations manager, they've been trying different things, how they can scrub the lines and stuff like that. But it's much better.
Yep. Well, it's like a lot of things, and a lot of things we debate and discuss throughout a lifetime. Education is the key factor, and I guess we could ask our viewers to be aware of that. And if you're not sure what is usable and what isn't, or what's recyclable and what isn't, take the time to educate yourself to do that.
No, absolutely, I agree with you.
Good. Well, being that we're just reading out messages, and the town does a very good PR way in bringing a lot of these things to our attentions as taxpayers or citizens of our community, and being that we've come through a fairly cold spell and cold weather, there's a few safety reminders that the town would like to share, and Blake has asked me if I would read these out too. So. A big problem, and could be a lethal problem, is carbon monoxide prevention. And do not use patio heaters, ovens, stoves, charcoal, or gas grills to heat your home. Keep chimneys clear of nests, leaves, and residue to ensure proper venting. Have all fireplaces cleaned and inspected annually. Do not use unvented gas or kerosene space heaters in enclosed spaces. Do not run a fuel-powered engine, such as a vehicle or generator, inside the home or inside an attached garage or carport. Carbon monoxide fumes can seep into the home through air intake valves, baseboards, and doors, probably faster than we would like to think it could come in.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take long for it to overcome the human body. Fire prevention. Ensure space heaters meet latest safety standards with automatic cutoff and guarding around the coils and burners. Place space heaters on a level, hard, non-flammable surface, minimum of 3 feet away from the flammable materials like bedding, etc. Turn off your space heaters when you leave an area or before going to sleep, and keep children and pets away. Ensure you clear any ice from your newer home high efficiency intakes and exhausts, and we've certainly seen evidence of that exhaust and ice building up on the outside vents.
That's correct.
Because again, carbon monoxide may back up into your home, and remember, it has no odor, and you can't see it. It is the silent killer. So on behalf of the town, that's some of the things that they want to remind us of and make us aware of. And again, if you have any questions regarding anything we talked about there, give the town office a call or drop in, and there's more copies of that available.
Yeah, it's interesting when you see what's going down in Texas right now, where they're not ready for that type of cold weather, just how much damage it can do, right, and how much turmoil it can create.
It's phenomenal, yes. And I heard at one point on the news last night, that this tragedy, disaster was 10 years in the making, and they weren't prepared for
No,
it.
I know it's it's interesting, right? That you need the disaster, you need the crisis before sometimes the solution occurs, right?
So some of these things that our town council and their staff are talking about are just things that we can all learn about and prevent some of these things from happening. So we ask on behalf of the mayor and the council and all the staff and the citizens of the town, we ask you to cooperate and honor and be aware of those rules. Well, there must be a few other areas we could cover, Blake. Is there
you know what, the only other thing I'd like to maybe talk about a little bit is, you know what, in our budget review, I mean, I always go back to, you know, we were a pretty new council, right? There was 5 of us, right, that came on board this time, and you know, we came with a little bit of a new agenda. We came with trying to hopefully we thought maybe a little bit more communication in the community. I'm not saying the past ones didn't do any, but that was really much more of our focus. And we were also committed to street renewal, and we were also committed to recreation. Those were really the 3 things that we were really committed to when we came on. And like I said, when we got underway, we realized that nothing's ever as simple as you think it is when you're sitting on the outside, and then once you get on the inside, you go, okay, maybe there's a reason why this is occurring. So, you know, now that we're in our 3rd year, I think, and I've said this to other people, I think our top priority, I think, has become housing. I think we understand that. I think we really understand. If you got an extra 2,000 people sitting in your town and you haven't created housing for 2,000 people, you have a problem. So, you know, that's really been a big part of our, but, you know, at the end of the day, we have now created a pathway where I think in the last 2 years, you're going to see our street renewal get underway, and you're going to see our recreation get underway. So I'm really excited about that. And I mean, it won't occur just in these 4 years. It'll be spread over the next 4 years too. But I think this coming summer, this coming fall, there's going to be some pretty exciting announcements coming from the town of Neepawa on some of the things we're going to be able to do. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Well, and street repair, of course, is never ending.
No, it's never ending.
And just thinking in terms of, well, street repair, and again, I'm asking this on behalf of myself. Is Commerce Street a town property?
It is a town street, yes. And you know what, that's a really tricky one. You know, it comes to our table quite a bit. Because at one point we had a developer that was going to do a little bit of commercial work down at the end of it, right at the corner of 5, and we were trying to make a decision to how we were going to get water and sewer there, and then what we were going to do with the street, but that didn't happen, so we've pulled back for the moment. But you're right, I mean, there will be development at that part.
Is the water and sewer there now?
No. Water is.
Water is, yeah.
But not sewer, yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, but at some point, I mean, there has been land purchased on the north side there that could be developed into some type of residential property, and someday I think it will occur, and that's a really tricky street. I mean, you know what, you really don't have any ditches, you know, your houses are close, like and it would take a lot of money.
Yeah.
So you know what?
And it's not a solid base to work with.
No, it's not a solid base.
It's kind of like a swamp.
No, I know. So we have that conversation a lot, and I mean, Denise done a really good job of projecting different things that could be done to it and what it would cost, but it won't become a top priority until we see some type of development there.
Yep. Yeah. And
but you're right.
That could be in the near future, or could it be down the road?
Yeah, exactly. But I think what we've decided as a town is, I mean, the argument for quite a few years was no point fixing a street because underneath it, right, the water and sewer, I mean, we have some very old infrastructure, like any town does, like even like the city of Winnipeg does. So the discussion always was, well, let's not do anything on top. But I think we've moved away from that now. I think we have made a decision that we are going to resurface. It's not huge. Well, I mean, in the world that we live in, it's not huge dollars. I mean, you can do a fairly, well, just think out, I don't know if you remember, but out, what's it called, Broadway. So back in 16, they did Broadway, which is out to the golf course, and they resurfaced that one. Yep. And I think that was around like $100,000. So I think that's where we're moving to. We're moving to looking at different areas in towns where we can do some restructure on top and then resurface, and it'll be good for the next 10 or 15 years. Because realistically, no one has a budget to go underground and redo all the water and sewer, and I'm not sure what the solution to that's going to be, unless the federal government or the provincial government's going to step up.
no town has the kind of money that's required to
do that.
No, I think we said it was what, $700,000 for a block. So.
And you're legislated that you can't have a deficit, so you have
Yeah,
to have a balanced
absolutely,
budget.
and that again, that was a trick this year with our disaster that we had on July the 1st, and with the money that we poured into the CN property. So, but again, I've learned that in my 2 years plus that we have an extremely competent administration staff that has done a really good job, and we're in good shape. Because if you do run a deficit, you only have 1 year to get out of it. So you have to pass certain bylaws, and it has to go on your tax roll, and it's not pleasant, I would suggest. So it's certainly not our first choice.
Don't you take us into a deficit.
Exactly, no, that's right.
Well, I would like to touch on Touchwood.
Oh, good. Okay, I can always talk about Touchwood.
I know, and that I walked past that new building, and it's exciting just to see the progress that's been made and how much they've got done. Could you just maybe give us a little update on that new building?
No, like I said, I can always talk about Touchwood. This was a project, and I've said it before, that we started 25 years ago saving our money for. That's when we had our first golf tournament. We've been very fortunate again with the community that's always supported us, and as always we've had good donations, and the foundation's been good to us. So here we are in 2020. We made a decision to move forward with our new build. It's a magnificent building, and everybody's going to have a chance to see it here at some point. I'm not sure in the COVID world how that works, but we want everyone to see it. We're actually really close. We ended up tendering it to Scott Howard, who's a general contractor from Morden. Him and his wife came up here. They actually brought their children up here. They rented a house here. They homeschooled, because what do you do in COVID? And so they've been here since August, and we are within a couple of weeks of actually being at a stage where it's finished, except for we now need money to do some furnishing.
Yes.
But I've said it before. I don't think you'll see anything like it in Manitoba, and I don't want to brag and say Western Canada, but it's pretty spectacular. It's got its own gym. It's got its own areas where you can ride three-wheel bikes around, because a lot of individuals get, they want some time to do stuff on their own, and we have 3 kitchens. We have, it's a spectacular project, and it's all because, again, it always goes back to administration, right? We have an extremely gifted administration that's been running Touchwood for 20 years, and Arlie Wilson is our executive director, and she's been there for 20 years, and we're very fortunate to have people like that in the community that are so committed.
And a lot of organizations and citizens are aware of the fact that Arlie and her staff are in the process of reaching out, and I think the funding for those furnishings and those things, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yes, I think we actually have been pleasantly surprised. We've always had a few people step up and give us, we're very, like I said, we've said that. You got to remember, we go back to, I wasn't around then, but 1963, right? That's when Touchwood started. Yep. And that's back in the days of Bobby Scott, and she was one of the original, and of course Peter and Muriel Cottingham. They were what I always want to mention that is that their daughter, Diane Cottingham, is still part of our organization.
Yes.
I know, so,
and she's very thankful for it, and she expresses that on many occasions.
It's an exciting build, and you know what, the province of Manitoba is extremely thrilled too, of course, because unfortunately, money is always an issue with individuals with intellectual disabilities, and they see this now. I really think we can become a place of destination, Lyle. Yeah. I think a lot of parents will look at Touchwood and say, you know what, I really want my child to be here, or my adult child to be here. And I think.
So how does the United Church units fit into that?
Okay,
picture?
Interesting. That's a good question, because what the government did, they have been redeveloping, and governments are famous for trying to reinvent the wheel, right? So now what they've tried to do now is they're saying, because money is obviously expensive, it's hard to fund enough money, they have been trying to adapt our models so that we have less people in group homes. So rather than have overnight staff in where we have individuals, they're trying to make it possible for individuals to live on their own. And obviously that saves them money, and it also allows individuals to be independent. But you still have to give them support staff. You have staff that come during the day, check on their meals, check on their finances. But so that meant that starting a couple of years ago, and they're just coming on stream now over the next 5 years, that's going to be a big commitment of their part. So in Neepawa, where would we put them? I mean, there is zero vacancy rate, and there's just nothing available. So when this opportunity came up to buy these units, we thought it was a win-win. The community's done so much for Touchwood. We thought this would be an opportunity to work both ways, so we can maintain. So when we talked to the people there, we said we would always make sure that half of the units were for people in the community that needed affordable type of rental space like that, and the other half at some point could be available for Touchwood, and that was our commitment. So there is 18 units, and right now we have, and we've only owned it for a short period of time, but we have 2 of our individuals from Touchwood in it, and the other 16 are people in the community. So I think on a go-forward basis, we will see more of our individuals slide into it but we also made the commitment we would never say, okay, you're out. We said that absolutely you can stay there as long as you want, and so that's exactly why we did it.
How many units did you acquire there?
There was 8 across from the high school. Yes. And there was 10 on Bork Street.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and you know what, they're from the 50s and 60s. So I mean they definitely need work, and I mean Touchwood. I mean we own 20 properties, so we're good at renovating. So that will be part of our plan too. As someone moves out, someone moves in, we will renovate each one. We will look at the bathrooms. We will look at the living space. And
how many group homes do you have?
We have 20 actual buildings, but we have, I believe, 12 group homes.
And the one on Main Street and Brown,
yes,
certainly.
Isn't that
talking about renovation? That is just
Isn't
changed.
that gorgeous?
It is.
It is gorgeous. Yeah, and that's kind of our future model. So our future model is, and of course it takes money, but our future model is, we call it piggybacking. So you know what? You have a house that has a couple individuals in it with an overnight staff because they need overnight staff, but you may have an individual that says, I'd like you to be around, but I don't want you here all the time. So we create the independent suite. So you know what? They have their own space, they have their own kitchen, their own bathroom. But they have that overnight staff that's next door that can step in if they need help. And we'd love to do more of that, but it's expensive.
Yes. Well, that certainly have brightened that corner, and I'm sure it's a very convenient, comfortable home for the people.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
no, it's great. Yeah.
Just thinking of that area, there's a heritage building on the other side of the Main Street and down a bit called the Anglican Church, the former Anglican Church. Yes. I'm interested, and I think a lot of viewers are, as mayor and council, do you know who has purchased it? And is it going to remain a heritage building as part of our town?
I think so, yes. I mean, I'll be honest, I probably don't know a lot more than you do, but it's my understanding it was purchased to be a church.
Okay.
So, and that's good to hear, right?
Yes, it is.
And you're right, it's
because I wouldn't want to see that corner without.
No, I agree. And that was going to be a huge discussion, right, if something didn't happen there, right? I mean, what was going to happen to it, right? Because, I mean, a lot of these buildings take a lot of money to operate, right? I mean, they're not built exactly for 40 below weather. So, anyhow, no, we're very, so that's my understanding.
Yes. Well, there's one other area that I know you've had a lot of discussion, and I know there's got to be a lot of discussion coming, and that's Park Lake and Stony Creek.
You know what? Again, it's funny. We just discussed that again last night at our special meeting. And again, I know I have always. I mean, if you're going to be in your own business, you have to be optimistic. So, I mean, I've always been an optimistic person. But all the information we're being given from the province of Manitoba, and we actually have an engineering study going on right now, which they're paying for. I am very positive that it will be rebuilt, and it will be better, and it will probably be bigger. Because I think the government is looking at if that is going to be an area for retention, whether it be for conservation or just to retain water, there is more opportunity there to actually expand that area. So I think I'm very positive that's going to occur, and then we will get a new bridge too. I know it's,
What do you see as a time frame for if that was to happen?
I think it'd be quicker than you think, Lyle. I think it would happen within the next 2 or 3 years. Yeah, I think it. I think it will happen fairly quickly, and I feel very comfortable. Again, there was a big. I think this is common knowledge now. There was a big request put in from the golf course too, of course, for their financial assistance, which runs through the town because we're the sponsor of that, and the government again is very much on board with that. So I think we're going to see that occur right away too, where the money's going to flow for financial relief there too. So
Yeah.
you know, what I've learned, and again, it's just fortunate for us. I mean, we picked Neepawa for lots of reasons. It wasn't the fact that we thought we were going to become a town of 6,000 people, but becoming a town of 6,000 people put you on the radar.
Yes.
I mean, the provincial governments, federal governments, I mean, everybody
Yep.
knows about Neepawa, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, we are the only, I've said it before, we're the only town north of the #1 highway that has that type of growth, right? I mean, you've got Steinbach, and you've got Morden, and you've got Winkler,
Yes.
but when you step across that #1 highway, right, we
They're
are...
far and few between.
Yeah, exactly. So it's exciting times.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly glad to have this time to reflect upon some of the excitement, thinking of the CN property and the Dutchwood building and all the things that are happening and are going to happen.
Yes.
We have reason to be optimistic.
Absolutely, and maybe I should just quickly mention that when you're talking about buildings, we just again approved the tender to knock down the old fire hall. So that's,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
so that's probably going to start occurring sometime in March.
Is there anything scheduled?
You know what? That's going to be up for discussion. I think people have come to the table that we've had multiple. Again, it'll be a discussion at the table, and public will have an opportunity to discuss it too. It's been talked about being go up for it's town property. It could go up for sale for the build of something else. It's been talked about because we are expanding so much. And our downtown is so clogged with, I don't know if that's the right word or not, but we have a lot of cars on the street there, that maybe we should be creating a parking lot that would allow off parking into
Yep.
an area that, especially maybe staff parking of people that work at their places of business, that, you know, that they could free up spaces on the main drag, so that's another option.
Yep.
So yeah, no, it's just a discussion, but it's...
Yeah, well, that'll be nice to see that tidied up.
yeah, absolutely.
So that's
And
going to happen in the very
It's
near
going to happen
future.
very quick, and the reason that it actually took this long was because of good old asbestos, right? So
Yeah.
there was,
Oh, yes, yeah.
So you know, so that took a time. You have to bring in the private officials, then you have to have the proper tender. So actually, as it turns out, the person that won the tender was exactly the same person that took down the what I call the castle on
Yeah, yeah.
on Main Street. So yeah, so it's the same
Same one.
contractor. So he has a good understanding of our town. So that's
Yeah.
good. So.
Thinking of the optimism and the fact that Neepawa has grown and the services that we have to offer, and that's one of the reasons why it has grown, I think, is because Neepawa has a lot of services. But another project in town is that Kinsman Courts. To think
Oh,
of
yeah.
6,000
Oh,
people,
yeah.
Blake, to have an assisted living
Yeah.
and an affordable assisted
Yeah.
living according to some of the other areas,
Yeah.
and to think we're going to have it right here in Neepawa, and looking forward to seeing that happen too.
Well, you know, that's very exciting, Lyle. I mean, and you were you were a big part of the original Kinsman Courts back in, what, 80, 81, is that when it was?
81, yeah. We moved
I
the
mean,
first residence
yes,
in 82.
yeah, so you just think about that. Just think what it did to our town then, because I was in business, and it just allowed the town to expand again, because so many people moved into that new, because it was 50 units
52,
there, right?
yeah.
52, so, and now same thing is going to occur again. No, that's an extremely exciting, and you know what, I give a lot of credit to the board that's led by Grant Lucan there and those guys. I mean, Tom Borza and Charlie Taylor and Brian McCutcheon, and I mean that's a spectacular project, and it takes a lot of you've got to have a lot. I don't know if nerve's the right word, but it takes a lot of confidence to move forward with a project
It
like
does,
that. So.
and you know, when you're working on a volunteer base, and there's going to be a lot of management decisions, so you got to hire more people for the assisted living. The board has had a lot of stamina and energy to go forward with it, and
Yeah.
But I think they'll be well rewarded in gratification.
I think so too, and great for the town.
Yes.
I mean that's just great for the town. I think it'll be amazing how many people we attract from outside the town of Neepawa too.
And that's the thing again,
yeah.
where there's enough facilities and people
Yeah.
are attracted to this
Yeah.
town,
Yeah,
which we like to see.
yeah.
Well, I think our time is getting kind of near to end here, Blake.
Okay.
And,
That went quick.
I'm wondering if there's any thoughts or messages or things that happened around the council table last night that you want to share with our viewers before we conclude our
I
programming
think
today?
I guess the only thing I would end with is just the COVID, right? I mean, I've always shown. I think the community has done such a great. And I'll always start with High Life. I mean, to have that many employees and to have be able to maintain having no cases out there, or if they've had any, they've been able to control it so quickly. We're very fortunate, and we have a community that's engaged in following the proper procedures too, right? Whether that be the masking, social distancing. I mean, we've been very lucky that way, and
Yes.
I know this is a tough time. I mean, I mean, February it's tough at any time, right? Whether even in a normal year, but you know, in a pandemic year, I know a lot of people are antsy and they want to do something and they want to go somewhere, but you know, we're close. We've been as close as we have been. So, you know, in the go forward basis here, I think if we believe our governments, the vaccines are going to be rolling out here, you know, in a more structured idea starting in April. And I think, I've always said September. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But I think September, I think the next school year, we will get back to what I think everybody's calling the new normal. I mean, it's not going to be the same. You're probably still going to be wearing masks. There's going to be some other conditions applied. But I think we will get back to the way of life that we're more comfortable with.
Yes, well, we're certainly looking forward to that. And you mentioned school, and one question come to my mind, and I don't know whether, I know it's not the town's responsibility, but the huts that are beside school at this point in time, now that we have the new middle school, are those huts going to be utilized for education?
They will be, because they, you know, the middle school's full. I mean, they, you know, and they built it, but the capacity has already been reached.
Yeah.
I mean, we're such an expanding town, right? And I mean, it's a great thing, but it also brings its own set of problems along with it, right? And
yes.
but yeah, no, you're right. They will be here, I think, on a permanent basis because I mean, I mean, the high school actually is probably the one area that probably isn't quite full yet, but I mean, again, with our newcomers coming through,
yep.
I mean, as they move into the higher grades.
That'll happen,
Yeah.
Just on the note of schooling, and of course, one of the other big interests here in town and for our viewers and the citizens of Neepawa is hospital. How much influence does you as mayor and the council and staff have in what happens in terms of a new hospital, or do you have any input?
You know, I think our input is, again, optimism, Lyle.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think all we can do is when we have a chance to talk to Minister Clark, or we have a chance to talk to any of the other ministers, again, I think we do have a little bit of a leg up in the fact that we are a growing community and that, you know, we have the potential to deliver something if they're available, but you know what, I think a lot of things got derailed here in the pandemic.
Yes.
I mean, the government of Manitoba was getting ready to balance its budget, and now I think it's got about a $3 billion deficit. So, I mean, yeah, it's tricky, right? You know, I don't have an answer to that, Lyle. I mean, I think in the old world, I think we would have had a really good chance, perhaps, at that. But I'm not sure in the new pandemic world how that's going to work.
But you as mayor and council will keep the
Absolutely,
communications open.
absolutely, absolutely. Every chance we have, we will discuss it. We're very fortunate. We have a very experienced counselor, Murray Parrott, and Murray Parrott has sat on the Prairie Mountain Health Board for quite a few years. He's very knowledgeable. He knows all. Again, you know, it's a question of learning the people that you're working with, you know, and
yeah.
so he's really been good at that. So he's always promoting us. So.
Well, I think, Blake, we've had a pretty good discussion. Not too sure where the time goes. There again, we're talking about time, but
Yeah, I know. That's right.
It slips by on us. But I think we've covered a few things, and I hope that the things we've covered are of interest to our viewers. And I think I would like to suggest that if our viewers have something that they would like to discuss of interest or ask questions of you, the council checkup here is the place to do it.
Absolutely.
And they could phone in any questions or
Yep.
inquiries or just thoughts they may have. Let someone know here at NACTV, 476-2639, and it would come on the agenda. So if there's something that you want to personally ask the mayor here as we sit in council checkup, please feel free to do that.
And you know, normally, if this wasn't the COVID world, you know, we've had Denis here, manager of operations. We've had Colleen, our EDO. We've had all our councillors here sitting with me. So you know, it's just not me, and that's why we called it council checkup. But because of the pandemic, you know, we decided in social distancing and,
Yes.
and all that to pull back on that. But I'm looking forward to the day where I can have someone sitting beside me that can talk more than I talk. So. That'll be good.
Well, I don't think you and I don't have a problem of not being able to talk.
No, you're right. You're right about that.
No, we look forward to that return of a more normal time when we
Yeah.
can have the other counselors
Yeah.
join us for sure. So with that in mind, and remember the rules, regulations of a few of the things we discussed here today, we thank you for watching, and we hope you've enjoyed our Council Checkup program today. Again, my name's Lyle Watson. Thanks for watching. Stay healthy, happy, and safe. Till next time, have a good day.